Dean in North Carolina, a person I have no idea who you are. How are you doing, Dean?
What's going on, man?
Hey, I got a question for you, man.
What's up?
So I see these forums and I get tagged in on Facebook all of the time with apologists who are, going and wanting to have these conversations and wanting to sit down with an atheist. And yet we have a show every week. And Christian callers are so sparse that we don't get to have those conversations. What the heck, man?
I'll put the word out. I'll email all the Protestants. I'll send a letter to the Pope.
Could you please?
There you go.
There you go.
Last I heard, Pope was not a Protestant, but that too.
No, I'm saying all the Protestants and the Pope.
Oh, okay, good. What do you want to talk about, man?
All right, so 2 questions, if you have time for them. Number 1, what evidence would each of you need to see or to be demonstrated to conclude that the universe was created by a creator? And then 2, what theistic argument gives you the most pause about your atheism?
Ooh, okay. So let's start with the creation by a creator. Depending on your definition, I might already agree with you. Mm-hmm. And that is, if we accept that the universe had a beginning, if I meet you there, then the instantiation of that beginning is the only way that I can understand things. That there was a point where there was this point of infinite mass at the Big Bang, and that's basically the most we understand about it. But I also don't understand how you can have things outside of it. So Matt says universe farting pixies, or what if there was an unintelligent creator? Could that be it? If we want to say that there's a machine that creates universes, can I call that a creator? Because if we go that way, then okay, I'll meet you along the way and we'll talk about it. But I think there's a lot of baggage in the word creator. Mm-hmm. And that baggage.
No, I agree. I think you'd have to pare down what somebody would mean by a creator. So I'll go with
William Lane Craig.
No, I'll go with multiverse and pixies as well, as Matt put on there. Like, what would you need to see if it were a multiverse or pixies?
Well,
I'll play the game.
No, I disagree with multiverse too. I want you to be honest.
Okay.
So the last I heard, you follow William Lane Craig, and William Lane Craig says that a creator needs to be outside of time. It needs to be omniscient, omnipotent, and what's the rest?
Omnipresent.
Potentially.
So it would be timeless, spaceless, immaterial, powerful, and personal is how Craig states it. I guess my question is, maybe let me pare down a little bit more into the question. Do you think that if the universe does have a beginning at a finite point in the past, mm-hmm. that would give you more reason to believe in a creator than, say, if the universe were eternal in the past?
No.
Okay.
So largely, I've been talking a lot.
I guess for me, the question it sounds rude, and I'm so sorry because you're
okay.
cool, Dean, but it doesn't matter to me.
What doesn't matter to you?
Whether or not the universe was created by something or not, that doesn't have any kind of effect on my day-to-day life. That doesn't have any effect on what gods I believe in, if any. I'm more than willing, for the purposes of this conversation, to say, sure, for this conversation, the universe was created by something. Now what? So I feel like this question doesn't get either of us to where we want to go.
Okay, so am I still on?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I thought my phone cut out. So V, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that it doesn't matter, for you, it doesn't matter if the universe was or wasn't created by God because it doesn't impact your day-to-day life.
Well, I didn't say God. I said created by something.
Or created,
you would have to,
creator.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So as an example, the idea that this God has these qualities, right? Could we imagine a God that exists that did not create the universe? Sure, we can make that up. I mean, we look at the Greek and Roman pantheons, we look at the Norse pantheon, and we go, okay, not all of those gods were creator gods, but they're gods.
Yeah,
So
well,
does that mean
I
that
don't even
saying
think you would need those.
Well, hold on. But what I'm saying is that for you to say, okay, I've proven that the universe was created. Okay, does that necessarily mean that you get to this Christian God idea? It doesn't. It just it's kind of sitting out there in space. V's got it. It's not super useful.
No, I'm not. I don't know that I'm positing a Christian creator. My original question is, what would you guys need to see to come to the conclusion that the universe? Let me put it this way: what would you need to see, or know, or have demonstrated that the universe was created by a God in general? Maybe not the Christian God, but just a God in general. What would you need for that to happen?
I would need to have some kind of understanding about how universes are instantiated in the first place.
Right. If we had an example of a universe that was created by God and one that wasn't, and then could compare the two, that might help. But because we don't have any other universes to look at, I don't see a way that I could be convinced.
And really, it becomes unfalsifiable from there.
An analogous situation where we see another universe being created by a God. Therefore, you're saying you don't have anything to compare it to, so it's just kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the other thing you wanted to ask?
The other question is, which theistic argument gives you the most pause about your atheism?
Could you give me an argument?
And by pause, I mean, what theistic argument caused you to go, that could pose an issue for me remaining an atheist?
I'm still looking for it.
Yeah.
I want to find it. Like, every time somebody puts something online that's like, this is the best argument for God, I watch it right away, because I crave that kind of pause, that kind of thing that makes me want to think everything through again and deconstruct what I previously imagined to be true. I love that kind of thing. And every single time I'm disappointed. Every time. And it's actually kind of depressing.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that we do, because we just adore this topic, is read up on not only apologetics, but what fallacies are, what kind of reasoning works and what kind of reasoning doesn't. And we use apologetics specifically to talk about where you can come into problems, come up against problems in reasoning. So could you give me a non-fallacious argument that we might be able to look at? Because thus far, there's a lot of real spotty stuff, man.
I got you. Let me ask the question to V first, and then I'll try and meet you where you are. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So V, you said that you're looking for that argument, and you've been disappointed. Now, does that argument have to impact you on your everyday life in order for you to believe that that argument is a good argument?
I think so. Like, not a purely philosophical one, like a practical argument. Yeah.
So, like you said, the other argument that we looked at, or the that we talked about previously, you said, well, it really doesn't matter because it doesn't, impact my everyday life. So I'm asking, does the argument that's presented to you specifically to move you from where you are in atheism to move you closer to theism, would that argument have to impact your daily life in order for you to move closer to theism?
I wouldn't say so.
Or could it be a philosophical?
No, what I'm thinking of primarily are philosophical arguments. I take philosophy courses for fun, and I love philosophy. And I think that there are lots of practical applications to philosophy as well. But no, I don't think that I would have to personally be impacted in order to acknowledge a good argument.
Okay, that's fair enough, because I was just curious about that. Now, Eric,
Yo.
you asked me to give you a non-fallacious argument.
Can I add on just a little bit?
Depending on what you're going to add on. No, I'm
Sure.
just kidding. Go ahead.
A non-fallacious argument that is in some way falsifiable.
That's in some way falsifiable. Okay. Yes. So,
actually, we should kind of define that for people who don't know what those mean. A fallacy is a kind of a hole in reasoning. It's not a good tool for using. Example being, it's really old, therefore it must be true. It stood the test of time. Dean, you're an apologist. Do you think something standing the test of time makes it more true?
No.
Heck no! That's fallacious. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily not true, but if it is true, it's only true as an aside. It's not true because of that argument. It's coincidentally true. Mm-hmm. And something falsifiable means you can actually show whether or not it's true or false. So a super common example is the idea, okay, we're just brains in a vat. Maybe we live in the Matrix. Okay, well, how could you tell the difference between this world and the Matrix? Well, they're functionally identical. So it's unfalsifiable until such time as we can determine, what this Matrix world is versus a non-Matrix world. It's impossible to show whether or not it's true or false. So when I asked you, and I know you know this, but I'm just getting this out for the audience. When I asked you for a non-fallacious, falsifiable argument, what I'm saying is I'd like to see something that I can use good reasoning for without falling into some of those epistemic loopholes, and I want to be able to test it to find out whether or not it's true.
Fair enough.
Cool.
All right. So how much time do we have, I guess is my question.
Dean, I want to give you all of the time in the world because I love these conversations.
Gotcha.
But maybe
okay.
let's try and cut it down to 10 minutes. Actually, you know what? I'll get you just a little bit more by thanking the patrons real quick, and then we can.
Okay.
All right. So our top 5 patrons today are Charlotte Crumb, Desert. Oh, hold on a second. I did not reload. Let me refresh the page just in case. Nope. Oh, yeah. Charlotte Crumb, Desert Heathen, Bethany P., Dr. Funkenstein in Ribau. Thank you so much. You are our top 5 patrons.
Woo.
If it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for those patrons, if it wasn't for the support, we wouldn't be able to keep this going. This is a nonprofit. If you like what we do, if you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. Dean, thank you for waiting through that. What did you want to, let's dive in. What is your non-fallacious, falsifiable argument?
So before I lay it out, you're not presupposing that all theistic arguments for the existence of God are fallacious and non-falsifiable, are you?
No, I actually point out fallacies and times when falsifiability doesn't line up all the time. Absolutely, so, like the argument from miracles, right? People say, "Oh, well, God answers prayers." Okay, well, let's test it. Hey, it turns out that's not the case.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So. You probably know which one I'm going to go to.
I know. I've been waiting for you to bring it up, man. Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So, whatever begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist, and therefore the universe has a cause. It is the Kalam cosmological argument.
Okay. Kalam gets you to deism, and I don't care.
Kalam gets you to deism if you avoid the fallacies and cool.
Yes, and the problem with Kalam is
how much time do we have?
Let's try and keep it simple. You're packing in this creator piece, and so when you're saying that there's creator and creation, what you're doing is you're begging the question, and so for you to pull that language out, it becomes a statement that has no value. The universe exists. Ta-da! For you to say it had a beginning. Well, according to our observations, that seems to be the case, but that doesn't mean that that there was something outside of that, because outside doesn't make any effing sense. Why am I saying effing? Because I'm talking to a Christian. Dean, it doesn't make any fucking sense. So if it doesn't make any sense, then, what you're doing is you're packaging something in. But you know what? Even if we just gave it to you, and we just said, okay, fine. Then what?
Would you give it to me?
Oh, yeah.
Would you give me the argument to cause?
Sure. Go ahead, because I know you want to talk about William Lane Craig. Let's go.
No, I don't want to talk about William Lane Craig.
What? You were fawning over him last time we talked. What happened?
Well, yeah, he's my philosophical hero, no doubt about it. That doesn't mean I got to talk about him every
Okay. What's up?
So I guess my question is, where am I packing in the creator piece in the syllogism?
Sure.
I'm just arguing. All I'm saying is, I am appealing to the causal principle that those things that begin to exist have a cause.
What?
I don't know how that's packing. I don't know how that's packing in God, at least in the first premise. And in the second premise, I'm simply saying the universe began to exist. Those are both of those statements are religiously neutral, it seems like to me. And then I'm just saying therefore the universe had a cause. I'm not saying at that point in the direct syllogism, I'm not saying or appealing to a God.
That's true. You're right.
The scientifically neutral syllogism.
I took
religiously, sorry.
Yeah, my brain immediately jumps to the next piece that equates cause with creator and creation.
Yeah, Craig goes a little bit further in his expanded version.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're right.
Yeah, so
go ahead, V.
Again, assume... Going back to not having multiple universes to compare ours to, our understanding of how the universe started, and I use that word with question marks on it.
I gotcha.
We don't know that for sure. So to put that into a syllogism as a concrete proof, as a concrete thing to build other pieces of your argument on, is concerning to me, because here, maybe I'll ask you, if at some point down the road we had enough evidence, scientific evidence, that maybe the universe didn't begin to exist, maybe we didn't understand that correctly, so this particular argument no longer worked for God, would you stop believing in God?
I would stop believing in the Kalam argument for the existence of God, because then even if the Kalam argument is removed, there are still other arguments I think would support that.
Okay.
Now, if and I'm sure Eric would love all the time in the world to, obliterate, things like fine-tuning, moral arguments, resurrection,
love it.
all
it's
of
delicious.
those.
People don't call about that anymore.
I know.
It hurts.
I gotcha.
It hurts my heart.
Don't call about what?
They
They don't call about those arguments?
Yeah.
I'll make sure to call back next week then. So I would grant V that honestly, if there was scientific evidence and they demonstrated that the universe is eternal, then sure, I would definitely give up the Kalam, because it would be an empirically faulty argument for the existence of God, because you can't argue for a beginning of the universe and the universe actually be eternal. So I would give that argument up. That wouldn't necessarily mean that I'd have to give up I wouldn't have to give up Christianity. I just have to give up that argument.
Okay.
So I'm willing to go. I'm willing to go to that length with regards to the Kalam.
Okay.
Sure.
So then why talk about Kalam at all? Is there something that is a little more meaty that we can talk about?
Well, I mean, outside of the fact that I like the Kalam, I think it works. I mean, I think it's a sound argument, but I'm just simply saying or arguing on the Kalam that one of the things that I hear, and I'm not trying to be disingenuous with regards to the remark, but I don't think that it's given enough. Well, that's not true. It's given attention by a lot of atheists, but I don't know if we can just dismiss it as a purely religious argument, given that it's religiously neutral and it's syllogism. Now, we can ask questions about the extended version of it, in which Craig goes into conceptual analysis about what must the cause be.
Right.
And we can talk about, the merits of, is God, timeless or anything like that. Yeah, go ahead.
I love you, man.
I know you.
But let's talk about it instead of talking about it. Or
okay, gotcha.
Stick to the things that we can talk about, because we're short on time and I want to get some meaningful dialogue.
You. I mean, I essentially got nothing else about the Kalam unless you guys want to bring something up.
So
if you guys got a roll, then that's all good.
My only question then for you, because again, that kind of goes back to the beginning question that you had, which is what would it take for us to believe the universe was created? And I was kind of like, I don't care. Like, if we want to agree for the sake of this conversation that the universe had some kind of beginning that was the cause with a capital C, as long as you're not making unsubstantiated claims about what that cause is, then I'm willing to grant that because it doesn't impact me. So my question is, if the Kalam cosmological argument, as we're using it now, without religious context or inherently theological bent to it, why, and if you would be willing to let go of the Kalam argument if scientific research was definitive enough to prove that the universe didn't, in fact, begin to exist, why is this your go-to? Why is this the one you come to the table with, presumably eventually to prove the existence of your God, if you're willing to admit that it could be wrong with scientific evidence, and also that it doesn't even have an inherently theological bent to it?
Yeah. It's my go-to because I think the inverse of what you just said would probably be the reason why I would go to it. I go to it because, one, I think the standard model that's been established through Einstein, Hubble, Lemaitre, Ford-Lincoln about the beginning of the universe is empirically solid. And then secondly, and this is just a personal reason. There's no objective.
I've got to stop you there, Dean. How is it falsifiable? We told you ways that it could be falsifiable by viewing other universes, but how is it falsifiable?
Yeah, well, if you could show that general relativity was false and special relativity was false, that's how the Kalam could be falsifiable, because the Ford-Lincoln theorem. Sure, because
no,
on that.
Dean, no, it doesn't.
Premise too.
No,
yes, it does.
So hold on. The Kalam came out a whole lot earlier than special relativity. So why did it hold water before special relativity? You're adding things onto it, but it is not necessarily contingent upon it. What you need to do is you need to show that there is a falsifiable way to test it, and it's not falsifiable. It's just not.
It is, Eric.
Okay,
Eric,
how?
Here, my friend.
How?
Okay. Because the version of the Kalam that, as you know, that I am appealing to, is the version of 1979 by William Lane Craig.
Right, but you didn't hold on.
Long after special and general relativity.
And I'd be happy to talk about that if we wanted to talk about that. But we specifically said we're not talking about. No, we're talking about Kalam basic. That's the whole thing that V was saying. Without religious anything else added on to it. What I'm saying is that is unfalsifiable. Would you agree that that's unfalsifiable?
I guess I don't understand what you're saying.
Sure.
Craig's Kalam basic is...
okay, hold on. Before we move on to Craig, before we move on to Craig, let's wrap this thing in a bow, right? The Kalam cosmological argument, the three premises that you gave, is not falsifiable. Yes or no? True or false?
It is falsifiable.
Okay,
Eric.
make it falsifiable. Please tell me how we can falsify that.
If you can show that the universe, on special and general relativity.
Nope. Sorry.
Is not.
Nope. Beam. Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
No.
Nope. It existed before then. So if it existed before then conceptually it could still exist without it.
What existed before then? Are you talking Kalam basic?
Yes.
Before then?
Yes.
Okay. in order to show that the kalam would be wrong, if you could demonstrate that the universe is eternal rather than having a beginning, you could falsify the kalam.
Okay, can we do that?
Second premise.
Hold on,
the kalam's
right. No. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to say, okay, you're absolutely right. I agree with you. And we gave that as an example. Dean, we're on the same page. We're on the same page. Now, how can we determine that the universe was either eternal or not?
Gotcha. So this is where we would look at the scientific data for either the eternality or the finitude of the past. That's what you would do.
The eternality? Okay.
The eternality, the infinite existence of the universe, or the finite existence of the universe. If you could show that the universe is forever in the past, it doesn't have a beginning, that it's just been here for forever,
okay,
then you obliterate premise 2.
Cool. How do we determine that?
And therefore, you would falsify it.
And that's why we're on the same page. How do you determine that?
Sure. Lawrence Krauss has taken this to task in A Universe from Nothing from 2012, where he argues.
He talked about the possibility of things coming into, blinking into, and out of existence.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, no, I got that.
So if he's correct, and
I mean, we've given you conceptual ways that it could be falsified, but because we're unable to investigate them, it is currently unfalsifiable. It's just like the Matrix idea, right? I can show you the.
I'm trying to give you falsifiability based on Lawrence Krauss, and you won't let me.
No. So I'm asking you how we test it, right?
I'm trying to give you that from Lawrence Krauss.
Go ahead.
In 2012, A Universe from Nothing, he argues that given virtual particles and their existence in the quantum vacuum through quantum tunneling, that the universe could come from nothing. Now, whether that's a good argument or a bad argument is still up for us to discuss.
Okay.
But that is one way, empirically, if Krauss is correct, it would obliterate premise 2 of the kalam and thereby falsify the kalam. Do you agree or not agree?
So, yes, I agree.
Okay.
I don't think I'm communicating well. I feel like the words that are coming out of my mouth are not having the effect that I'm trying to make them have. So I need to do a better job as a communicator here, Dean.
There might be a glitch in my, brain housing group. I don't know.
You know what? You would not be the first. You would not be the only one on this show. Let's try this again.
Message and let's chat.
Well, no, we need to record another conversation is what we need to do.
That's also true. I got to get down to Austin.
We will talk after this.
Okay.
But Dean, I appreciate you calling.
I appreciate you guys.
I'm going to find a better way to communicate what I'm trying to say. And if I do it off the air, I'm not doing it as a dig on you. But yeah, now it's bugging me.
All right, man. Well, you guys have a great day, okay?
Thanks for calling in, Dean.
All right, no problem. Later.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, please help me. And in the live chat, help me.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is we have come up, right when he said, okay, here's the argument, we came up with possible ways we could imagine it being falsifiable. We said, hey, if we could compare it with a universe that, wasn't created, if we can have those things to compare, then we can determine whether or not that statement could be true.
Right.
Right? Can we do that? Do we have access to multiple universes? No. Okay, so can you give me a way that we can test it? Okay, well, let's do, he gave another potential way that you could falsify it. Okay, can we investigate that? Well, no. What we've come up with is the fact that we cannot investigate it and we can imagine ways for it to be wrong. Now, what is the null position? What is the position you're supposed to take? Is it I'm going to believe it until it's proven right, or I'm going to believe it until it's proven wrong? In one, you actually get a world where you can go without believing and praying to 10,000 gods every day and being intellectually honest, or You could say, you know what, the time to believe something is when there's evidence for it, because I'm not going to sit here and fucking try and say, I believe in the Loch Ness Monster. I believe in aliens that come and visit the Earth. I don't believe in fairies. I don't believe in Bigfoot. And I'm not going to say that that's true until it's proven false. No, what you do is you say, I'm not going to accept it until you show me that there's a reason to.
Right.
And the null position should be that that is not the case. Not that you're taking a stand there, but because for you to live an intellectually honest life, the time to take medicine is when you know that there's an effect, not to be brought in by snake oil, right? That's how we make sure we don't get taken advantage of. So, all right, let's